So welcome, ladies. We heard a lot about technology, we heard lots about people, and we have you people here sitting right on the stage and actually dealing with everything we heard so far. So with some of you, I already talked about the collaboration between sales, marketing, and revenue. But collaboration is not the value. It, according to myself, it should be like a structural decision. And for me, we have here one resort and we have one hotel. So for me, hotel is the place to stay, and the resort is the place that you don't want to live. That's for me. And hotels quite often ask, where are you going next? And the resorts ask, how long are you staying? And that difference actually changes the product pricing, the logic, and also the internal alignment. So instead of discussing the marketing in isolation, like Roxana said, even yesterday, we will play a game. I know you don't know about that, but we will play a game. And we will actually make it into practice. So, I prepared the cards for you. Each card has a question. And you will draw, each of you will draw one card, and I will ask you that question. And then I might ask somebody else to challenge you.
Wow, you're scary the first time.
No, but you're a professional. I love it. So, Katerina, please. Give it to me. So, we have like real life situation. Revenue blocks the promotion because rate integrity and sales already promise it. Who decided? Who decides?
I think the sales director will say, okay, it's fine, we're going to close the sales for this. But can you repeat that question?
Yes. So we have
what can I say? What should I say? Or what you expect to hear?
No, I don't have any expectations.
Okay.
So you have the experience in the resort company, and so we have the situation. Revenue blocks the promotion. So because rate integrity, they want to save the rate, they want to earn the money, and sales already promise it. Who decides what will actually happen? Which scenario will happen?
Yeah, the market will decide what will happen, but actually you shape what you want to have from the market. So actually if you have some kind of promotion which you already know that you lowered the rate or gave some kind of discount which is not aligned with the brand, then you also talk a lot about your marketing strategy. So I think the market will decide what's going to happen with this kind of promotion, not the revenue, not the sales director. The marketing will play the game.
Vlaska, have any thoughts on that?
I knew it. Yeah, coming from the revenue perspective. Yeah, I would challenge that because I think it should be a team decision. And I would ask from the revenue perspective some knowledge from the sales around who it was promised to. So who is the guest, who is the client? Is it a good piece of business? Is it a first-time piece of business? Yeah, I would of course evaluate the damage, but I think I would need more knowledge and it should be a joint decision. And of course, if it's a very important client or whatnot, I would let the promotion run because I think, yeah, it would only make sense to know together.
Andrea, how does it work in practice?
Well. Can anybody hear me? Perfect. So I say two things. Know your revenue manager. Know the weaknesses and the strengths. Meaning, take them out for drinks, get to know their private life and everything else. So, when you present a business case in this situation, because to revenue, you always have to present a business case. Why the client is important, why do you need them, why do you need them back, what's going to happen in future years with groups and whatever. So, you can, depending on the situation, tackle the weakness of your revenue manager.
You're actually selling to the revenue manager.
Correct. And it's not an easy task. I worked with so many revenue managers in my life. You know, I'm from Croatia, I'm from Split, very proudly. But I lived 15 years in Italy, 1 year in Uganda, in Kampala in Africa, 2 years in Dominican Republic before moving to New York 12 years ago. And of course, the revenue is always revenue, and we always have to love revenue. But we need to sell, right? We need to sell. So we always have, as you mentioned, kind of try to find the best way possible. Do I always win? Yes. Just saying.
So let's not give you another question.
The last one. On your left.
You will choose which is the last one. Okay.
Voila.
So we are here at the group topic, like for my segment, which is really popular and brings actually quite a lot of revenue to the hotels and resorts. So sales closes a group below optimal rate to secure occupancy. So that's the main reason. Is that success or failure?
Well, in my opinion, depending on the situation, but I do believe that is a success. I'm going to give you a perfect example. We have a lot of citywides in New York City, and these are programs that come back year over year over year. Of course, everybody knows that this year we have FIFA. Croatia is going to win. So during that time, we also have some citywides, like the Fancy Food Festival, extremely important for New York, a lot of other things that are going on. But you also have these citywides you want to secure for years to come. So now we negotiated for one of the most important events in New York City, the continuity, right? So I have groups on the books for 26, 27, 28. So it's 3 years business that we secured. But of course, the rate is not going to be optimal, especially for 2026. But you have to keep in mind that you have to have a bigger picture. You have to see the future. So securing base for future years, it's absolutely optimal. So for me, that's a win. I would love to hear from you there.
Yes,
What's your
please,
opinion?
She does it really well, so I agree, actually.
Told you.
Yeah, you see, she just bought me a drink. No, yeah, indeed, I think you have to look at the bigger picture and you have to have the balance. And if this piece of business makes sense for the coming years, yeah, then I would say, let's do it. But of course, confirming this business for the upcoming years, that rate, first of all, had to be discussed with revenue before it was confirmed. So it should make sense already, I would say.
Yeah, Katarina, I saw you nodding.
Actually, we perform a lot of groups, so I would
But
say...
you have some previous experience
Yes.
working with groups.
Yes, actually, yes. I would say it's a good position, it's a good win, because if you have like secured 10 groups for each season for the next 3 years, you know that you have like a main part of the groups which you know that are confirmed. Actually, you can always cancel. You don't have always like secured revenue from these groups. But it's a good point of view as a sales director when you are planning for the next season. Then you know, okay, it's fine. I have like 3 groups in June, 3 groups in October. I can have some kind of planning for the next year, and I think it's good.
Alaska, it's your turn. I'll teach you the question. So, marketing launches a campaign without aligning with revenue. What breaks first?
Our relationship.
Those rings.
Yeah, I think nowadays any promotion needs to be collaboration between the marketing and revenue team, what makes sense. And we really need to look at these things ahead. And if they did it, then I would evaluate it afterwards and we learn from it. So yeah, of course, if it's already done, it's done. But all these things have to make sense for the brand on their end, but also for the revenue. So it's really deciding together ahead. So yeah, the relationship would break. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you have any thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
no, I agree with that 100%. I would never challenge that because promotions sometimes can be hurtful, right? They can sometimes be a bad decision. So in order to align, it's always, I mean, it's mandatory to have revenue involved, right? But, and it's also speed thinking between the collaboration. Sometimes you have something that comes up, and again, as our previous Mr. Kaufman was speaking, it's like you don't see the numbers, and a lot of general managers don't have patience. The corporate office doesn't have patience, so they were like, push it, push it. So sometimes you come up with a promotion that it's maybe not even necessary, right? But if you align, if you speak, if you have patience and kind of settle, that a good promotion is always going to be a win-win, right?
And if you had to redesign, so this is the question for all of you, if you had to redesign the organization so that marketing, sales, and the revenue truly work as one, what would change first? Katarina?
What would change first? Actually, I could agree with Andrea, what she said before. That good collaboration between sales, marketing, and revenue department is really important.
But does that work in real life?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I would say like a good head could bring a good collaboration to the team.
And who is the good hat? What type of, what's role? Is that already existing role in a hotel, or do we have to invent a new role?
No, so the sales director should, I think, actually that the sales director should bring up a good communication between the departments, because you know the revenue cannot function without marketing, the marketing cannot function without sales. It has like their own strategy between the team. So I think like giving up a promotion without having a good conversation before with the revenues department can sometimes be really, really hard, because you cannot have a good price, you cannot have a good promotion, a good strategy if you make a promotion without having a conversation with all of the three departments.
Have you ever felt that you need a facilitator in between all of you?
No, I think not.
Okay.
I think if you have a good team, you can have a good communication. But I would say also, like when you're choosing a promotion, and you talk with the revenue, but it's also important to hear the marketing team and the branding side, the branding part, because you cannot bring up the branding of luxury hotel with giving up promotion all the time. Because the promotion and discounts also speak about the brand.
Yes, we heard that this morning first.
What you present. So it should not be the main thing what you should use for.
Vlatka, how that team would work, and
Yeah, I think if you have a hotel where you haven't combined these departments into one, I would really recommend to do so. So for example, the last two companies I worked for, one was with Circle Collection and I was heading the revenue there. And before that was Citizen M, I was looking after all their US properties. And during my time with either hotel chain, they made this restructuring. So you had a head of commercial, and everybody from sales, revenue, marketing, e-commerce brand, whoever falls within the commercial would respond to that person. And I think it made sense because then you really needed to collaborate, and all the decisions were inclusive of all the team members. And what we then even realized, for example, when we went through this transition is it's not just about making it one team, but it's also about aligning KPIs. So everyone's KPIs was going up towards the one KPI we all had. So it would not be maybe one, rather, but you decide what are the common KPIs of a commercial team for the next year, and then everybody works on a piece of it. And how are we all going to get there together? So
did you manage to do that?
We managed to do that, yeah. But this was something that once we restructured, we realized it's not just about being in one team, but it's also about working together towards the same goal. So I think that was...
Was that hard?
Of course, yeah, we all, but...
And what was the biggest challenge?
Yeah, so I will give you an example. As a revenue manager, maybe you have a goal, I need to grow OTAs year on year by this much percentage. And then the marketing brand team, they had a goal, I need to grow direct business by this much percentage, right? So this is not aligned. So these are the things that you really need to work together because everybody is responsible. So yeah, it's continuous, I think, work in progress, right? But it really does make sense in the long term to really align it.
Andrea,
Product. What
Tell
I
me
mean by
more.
that? I think if we all understand what and how to market the product that we have, then we can align. I can give you this example of my hotel. Sofitel New York has been open for 25 years. They never touched it till last year. So March 2025, they decided completely to redo the hotel. Over $60 million spent, huge investment, right, for ownership. And now it's the situation of positioning correctly the hotel. So if you position the hotel, understand where you want to go with it, it's easier to align all together. So sales and marketing and revenue have the same goal. But just a question to all of you, just to raise your hand. How many of you actually think that your hotel or your property is positioned correctly and you are marketing it correctly? One? Jesus, okay. That's good. Okay. Three, okay. Still anxiety attacks. So, you have to understand what you actually have in your hands and how to position it. And then, of course, having open discussions with revenue and marketing and where you want to go is going to take you where you want to be, right? No?
And I would say also
Yeah.
that you need to be clear what kind of guest is your guest.
what kind of guest is your guest?
If you define the guest really good, then you know you find a good position in the marketing and you know what strategy you use for that guest.
And can you tell us the example of your resort? How do you do that?
Yeah, actually, this topic is
Just a question. Can you hear Katarina loud enough? Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I would say this topic is a good topic for our brand. We are a newly opened 5-star resort near Zadar, and we are not a part of any global brand. So from the beginning, we have so much to do to bring up the branding by our own. We have good things, we have bad things about that, and the good things that we can shape the brand how we want. We don't align to some kind of standards which have big brands. We have also the possibility to act immediately, so we don't need to wait from someone from above to decide what's going to happen. So we do that like in the team. We decide what happens in the second month for our promotion. So it's a hard way for us to bring up Morum as a brand, but we are also happy and inspired about all of that. And this is also what you said before about the revenue management. Sometimes we have like a fight lately because the marketing says, okay, I don't want to see any kind of discounts. We are luxury 5-star resort. We are part of Travel Made, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We don't want to have like any kind of discounts on the website. We need to bring up the brand, the quality of the brand, the vision of the brand. We are authentic. We are bringing authentic, personalized service to the guest.
So everything is what we heard this morning, and then later on some examples that also Vlad said.
Yeah, and we need to communicate that to the brand. And then the branding team comes and say, okay, we have 3 rooms in April, we need to do something. And then the branding says, okay, you cannot communicate discount, what you can do. And then it happens sometimes that we fight between us, what is the best way to
And you
promote.
have, can you say an example with what idea, what solution the marketing
Yes,
came up?
but at the end, we decide that the best option is not to communicate some kind of discount. We communicate extra value added values for our guests who book directly with us, who book for these dates which we have like open and low bookings. And I think that's the best way for some kind of new brand where you want to have a position in the market.
I like your brand. I stayed over there, and it's really, really nice.
You are a true ambassador for our hotel.
My son loves that. I would just like to ask the audience, do we have any questions here for the ladies? Please.
Yeah. Basically, do you have a position, you mentioned commercials director or even a business director, let's say, which is my function, which joins the all 3 functions together with the CFO? because there's a CFO involved as well. Do you have it, or is it more like a commercial directorship positions, or are you actually capable of kind of coordinating 3 different departments that look at business through 3 different lenses? I know what's the ideal world, I'm just asking for a real talk.
Yes, no, please.
Okay, we are not a big resort, a big company, so we have a CFO, general manager, and I would say the CFO, the director of the finance is always a bad guy. What the marketing brings up as an idea, what the sales bring up as an idea is like very nice, but the CFO and the director says, okay, no, it's too much over the budget. So, but also we're thinking like we are a new resort, we don't need to bring up so much attention to the budget, and we start to display, but the finance is always the bad guy.
Do we have some more questions from the audience? Maybe some? Yes, please.
I wanted to ask how is pre-COVID and post-COVID numbers? So have you recovered fully, or do you have a raise in, let's say, number of guests? I know the inflation got up and the prices are a bit higher, so in total amount of income, maybe it's higher number, but in number of guests and number of stays, how you calculate, is it recovered or?
May I?
Yes, please.
When I speak about COVID, like when I hear COVID, I was like, oh my God, before COVID I wasn't even 40 years old. Like it's such a long time ago, you know what I mean? I think we should stop talking about COVID, in my opinion. Things have changed, we moved on. Like when I started recently with the company that I am, right, with Sofita, and of course, you know, you inherit teams and you inherit people, and you kind of ask and see the questions. And the first thing it was, after COVID, before COVID, and we always do the same thing the same way, right? So I was like, this cannot be like that. We need to move forward. COVID's been such a long time ago. Of course, New York is a special beast because New York is always busy. You want it, no want it. New York is always going to be driving business. We have over 700 hotels in New York.
But what's happening with the pricing now in the US?
Extremely high. Especially, I'm talking about New York. You cannot talk about the whole states because, you know, 15 different states, 15 different regulations. But if you talk about New York, if you talk about specific at my hotel, my rates have gone up since last year, 28%.
And how about now for 2026, for the World Cup?
So that's another story that we need to talk about. There was a lot of expectations. Of course, FIFA signed all the contracts with the hotels in all the cities where the games are going to be played long time ago. We're talking about end of 2022, beginning of 2023. Our hotel is not under their umbrella, which I find very refreshing. Why? Because the rates are stuck, you know, and for a very long time, and their release policies are really not the best. So besides the compression of the city, taking other kind of business, opening up more, it's going to drive much higher rate. And I think that generally needs to be taken into consideration, but my specific hotel, because of the renovation, everything is driving a 28% ADR. It's crazy, it's huge. But we reached budget for January, so obviously something.
I just want to add something. I do think, because I looked after some New York properties, for example, during COVID, and this high rate that you're mentioning is, in my opinion, product of COVID, actually, post-COVID.
Yeah.
So we changed how we do revenue also, and we are now really focusing more on profitability because we experience huge costs with no incoming revenue. So that shift, I think, also was caused by that change. And then, I remember there was like the year after when everything normalized in New York, you could charge whatever you wanted, it seemed like that. It was crazy. And then it normalized a bit, but the higher ADRs really stayed. So, I think in general, just to add a little bit to your question, I think markets mostly recovered, but there is a shift where now the focus is more on ADR because people couldn't travel and they were willing to now pay a lot more for this experience, right? So I think that shifted a little bit on how things stayed afterwards. influence, which I think is better for the business in general.
Yes, please. We have another question here.
Hi, coming from marketing world, I have a question for all three of you. Do you see the future of marketing with now AI recommendations being much more used? Do you see the future of marketing department just as before in preparing promotions, trying to fill the gaps? Or should the marketing be more focused on creating the brand, creating brand mentions and getting your brand mentioned by AI as a recommendation for future guests?
I was just talking about this with Thomas earlier. I believe that we definitely need to, in our case, develop the brand, right? Because again, US is a very specific market. If you have a European company, it is extremely challenging. So I would definitely use AI in advantage of developing the brand. I suggest everybody to at least follow us on Instagram, Sofitel New York, and see how we're doing it currently. We're investing more on marketing side on influencers, so influencing people from people. In my opinion, when I saw first time our Instagram account and our social media in general, they were a little bit static, boring. People don't like anymore the perfect picture, the perfect glass of wine. They need something different. They need something curious, different. So definitely we invest in influencers and different kind of marketing that is differentiating us. Why are we different? Because, for example, I have something that nobody else has. I have the hot croissanterie. What is that? We have croissants. They're made in-house, and each city where Sofitel is, they take different flavors. So for example, you have a cheesecake in New York, right? So we created this huge, phenomenal, very challenging croissant to eat, but it's cheesecake made, and it's brilliant. So we offer that. We offer something that it's called candlelight delight, basically. It's an ode to Paris, that is a city of light. So every night at 5 o'clock, we do have a candlelight ritual. You know, we light the candles all over the hotel, and that is a special moment. And then when you go to bed, you sleep in my bed. My bed is a special collection that it's really amazing. I've been sleeping in Sofitel now for 2 weeks. I haven't been home. I've been in Canada. I just came back from Canada. And I have to tell you, the best sleep ever. You can also purchase that online because we do have special my bed things made in Normandy.
Vatka, what's your thoughts on the question?
Yeah,
from the
just
audience?
like we just had a nice talk before this about how revenue management changed, right? So what I do daily now, if I have the system automated, I'm literally reviewing what the system is doing and agreeing or disagreeing, influencing, let's say, right?
Do you feel frustration sometimes if the system shows you one thing and from your experience and your gut is telling you something different?
Yeah, I think any system is smarter than I am because it can go through a lot of algorithms, which I cannot do in my head or with the calculator in the same speed. So I don't feel frustrated. I think that comes back to me because that means I didn't influence the system properly. So it would make decisions the way I think it should make, right? So there are always ways in RMS that you can influence and tell the system in the back end or whatnot, this is why you shouldn't think like that, right? Because the system does not know that FIFA is coming next year. You have to tell it, right, for those dates. So I think that to marketing point, it's just that also marketing will always have to be there, but it will completely change the way we do marketing, right? So I'm a big fan of AI. I use it for a lot of my personal things. And I think, yeah, you can have more ideas. So maybe some, you can have AI creating things, but then you still need to be there to influence, is it within your brand? Does it make sense for you? So I think it's just a tool that will help and make our life easier, but we will always have to be there for the creativity and for the approvals and for the branding. Yeah.
And Katarina, your final thoughts?
Yeah, actually, I like AI very much. We use it a lot in marketing, but I still think that the best marketing is a good experience of the guest. If he has a good experience and shares through the social media, through the reviews, that's the best way you promote the resort, the hotel. But if you have like bad experience, I think no budget can fix that. So this is a bad point. But actually, I would like to say Andrea made a good promotion now for the croissants, because I'm thinking now on the panel she's doing marketing, and I think
No, she did the selling and the marketing.
Yes.
Yes, everything she did.
You talk about something what makes you really special, and this is really good information, that this is something what they deliver to the guests is something special. We in Monoview try also to deliver experience.
Yes, you do. I was talking about the Call My Friends and talking
Yes.
about your resorts and your breakfast.
We are trying to think out of the box, so we don't want to offer to the guests like, you have a bicycle, you can
Yeah.
drive a bicycle. We offer to the guests stargazing. I think you never heard in a hotel that someone offers stargazing. This is something truly special, and the people recognize it.
And it's so simple
Yes.
and cheap.
It's very
And
simple.
people will pay for that.
Yeah.
So what I learned today is that real competitive advantage, in 2026 at least, will not be better campaigns, it will be a better human and then commercial integration.